1-0.
Greetings, fellow barbarians. It is I, Alan Odinson, once again on the Barbarian Lounge podcast. I want to thank you guys for joining us. Let's get a few things out of the way real quick. Please check out our website at thebarbarianlounge.podbean.com. You can go there and check out all of our past episodes and all the different things we've got going on. We're also available now on iTunes and Stitcher. So if you got iTunes, you can check us out there. Give us a download. Give us some ratings on there. We need your help. We need your support. We've appreciated every last bit of support you guys have been giving us, and it's only going to make us grow stronger in the process. But speaking of growing stronger, let me talk a little bit about our sponsor. And as I said before, you're never ever going to hear anything I sponsor on this show that I do not personally use and I do not personally support. I like to build up the small businesses. I like to see them grow just as they've helped me in the past with my business, Odinson Archery. That's OdinsonArchery.com. These small businesses, they need our help. The big giants of industry are out there trying to gobble them up, so let's give them some help. In the supplement world, it's massive right now, and there's all kind of garbage out there, and I've tried just about everything you could possibly think of, and there's just so much garbage. But let me tell you one thing that's definitely not garbage. It's a product called Mitacon. It's an awesome workout drink. It's not a pre-workout drink. Don't get that confused. It's an awesome workout drink called Mitacon. That's MITO-CHON. It helps you access the energy actually within the cell. It's attacking your energetic levels on a cellular level. I usually take Mitacon before and after any MMA, weight training, archery, workouts, anything like that. It makes me feel more focused. I feel stronger. It also helps with my endurance as well as recovery. It's very hard to find anything on the market right now that can do that for you. I take it anytime I need a boost of concentration and energy. Got a bottle sitting with me right now because I'm focused, I'm fired up, and I'm ready to give you guys some information. So check them out on Facebook at Mitacon, M-I-T-O space C-H-O-N. You can get yours today. When you go there, tell them Alan Odinson sent you. My boys will hook you up. So, political violence. That's what we're talking about today. And I will admit that this is a spur-of-the-moment episode for me because I got up this morning getting ready to slay Friday to begin an amazing weekend, and I saw this nonsense about these political rallies, if you want to call them that. They're not rallies. They're violent mob attacks is what they are. The event I'm thinking about specifically is the event that happened in San Jose. Now, in San Jose, they had a Trump rally there, and it doesn't matter. As I said before, I am not that guy who says, okay, let's get political, let's rally behind this guy, and he's going to change the world, and everything's going to be... I'm not that kind of guy. I've already told you that. I'm not that guy. However, I also told you that you need, when you build your wall, to recognize threats outside the wall and threats, eventual threats, that can attack you and your people. This is one of them. As I said, you are not, just because you find you're working to be outside of the system does not mean that you cannot be concerned about what's going on inside of the system. You're inside the walls of the empire. If you're outside the walls of the empire, hey, whatever. But we as barbarians have these outsiders. Remember, whenever I say barbarian, I'm speaking outsiders. We as outsiders are inside the walls of this empire. So we can't set up a sovereign state here. Not yet, at least. But we have to be concerned about the things that are going on because all of us pay taxes. All of us are affected by any of the laws and policies that are made while we're inside these walls. Once we get outside these walls, that's a different story. So we need to be concerned about this. And I don't give a shit whether or not it's about Trump. I don't give a shit whether or not it's about Hillary, Bernie, Gary Johnson, whomever. You have to recognize the threat that's happening and recognize things that are currently going on right now, even in our law enforcement industry, that's allowing and empowering these things to happen. Because we've talked about this at length in other episodes. If you don't establish allies against a threat that is attacking you and your people, there will be no one left to stand with you when the threat comes to you. You don't have to be friends. You don't have to agree on everything. But you got to know who's going to be on your side. And if you can help them out, they'll help you out later on. If you say fuck them and don't worry about them, well, guess what? When the threat comes to you, they're going to say fuck you. So let's get going on this. The Trump protests, or the riots, I'm not even calling protests, they were riots in San Jose that happened. You had supporters there who showed up for this rally. Peaceful people showed up to this rally and they said, we're going to go and support our candidate. Okay, you support Trump. That's great. Do your thing. Do your thing. That's your right to do that. Their supporters, upon arriving, were terrorized. They were terrorized by a lot of people who showed up waving Mexican flags here in America, saying, Viva la Mexico, or whatever the fuck they say. So, these guys are showing up on American soil with a foreign country's flag and attacking people who are trying to elect an American president. How odd does that sound? Yes, this is no sort of satire. This actually happened here in this country. So these people they were hit with rocks. They were beaten up and bloodied. I saw a video of this kid, kind of a small kid. I think he was wearing a Build-A-Wall shirt, which I support Build-A-Wall in many different forms it may come. But he was wearing this Build-A-Wall shirt, and he was assaulted. They had this kid, they were ripping his shirt off, they were beating the hell out of him. Beating the hell out of him. And you know what the really bad part about this is the police allowed it. Yes, I have wonderful friends in law enforcement. I have wonderful friends. Friends whom I would trust my life to. Brothers even, if you will. However, the law enforcement there, as a whole, allowed this to happen. They were ordered to stand down. Now, you could look at it from several different standpoints. Did they stand down just because they wanted to watch it happen? Or did they stand down because they were outnumbered? Looking at things, they were quite outnumbered. And there's a lot of political pressure on the law enforcement industry right now as well. There's a lot of pressure on them to, don't be too violent. Even if a guy's got a gun pointing at him and was proven, they found him dead, everybody saw him with a gun, he fired a shot at the cop and everything, the cop shoots him, they're like, oh my God, hands up, don't shoot, right? We already proved that was a lie to start with. So, either way you want to look at it, whether or not they were told from up high to back down, whether they backed down because they were outmanned, either way, they backed down. This happened. Now, they said there were, quote, several arrests that happened. All these things happened after the fact. And that's one of the things I want you to understand and really wrap your mind around when I'm talking about all this stuff. Everything that happened to these people, these rioters, everything that happened to them happened after the fact. And that's going to be important. It's not from a political standpoint, but it's from a futuristic standpoint as what the system is that we're rolling into right now. All these things happened after the fact. So you had these guys there, they're all showing up, they're fighting, they're throwing rocks, there's been some instances where they've thrown cups of piss on people. Let me tell you something, somebody throws a cup of piss on me, their face is getting turned into a canoe by my fist. There's no way that sort of thing should be stood for. But I digress. So they're out there, they're burning American flags. They're burning them there, and I don't care what you think about the American flag. Whatever your idea is. Remember, I'm talking about the empire. You have to understand, you say, well, great, we want this empire to fall. Well, guess what? They're not burning it to say, down with the empire in general. No, they're saying these people who are black and carrying Mexican flags. So what are they telling you? They're telling you that they don't care about the nation there. They don't care about this empire. They want their own empire. Their own empire. They want Mexico to spread. They don't want this whole idea of, just let us stay and everything. No. They're here declaring Mexican sovereignty in this country. Does that affect you? Who cares, right? Who cares? We're outsiders anyway. We don't want to see this system prevail. Well, guess what? You're here. You're in this system right now. You are in the confines of this empire. Is that the empire you want? Look how Mexico is right now. How wonderful Mexico is. Because do you think that culture, that cartel culture that's down there, that's taking over and just embedding itself in Mexico, the poor Mexican people, they've been disarmed, they've been completely gelded by their government down there, and now those people, they can't defend themselves. Do you want that system that's controlling Mexico to spill over here? But let's not even talk about that. Let's talk about resources. Let's talk about resources. As these people are coming over, you cannot deny that they are coming over here and removing jobs from people. You cannot deny that fact. So you've got this culture starting to spread over, and it's infecting. Keep in mind, they do not want to just see this empire fall. They want to see this empire replaced with an even more oppressive empire, with even more people packed into smaller areas. Sucks up resources, sucks up jobs. You're going to lose. You have housing issues. Prices go up on things. It's just a big smorgasbord. Now, all of these things directly affect you, whether you want to pretend it doesn't affect you or not. It does. And I'm not asking you to care about everything and go out there and vote for Trump or whatever you want to do. I'm not telling you that. I'm telling you to recognize a threat as it's beating on your wall right now. So, just understand that it was reported numerous times that the police, and this is really a massive heart of this issue, that the police, there was no police presence at times. They backed down. Their superiors may have told them, or they may have retreated. I saw several instances where they retreated. A police pickup went into the crowd, and the crowd started shaking the pickup and just rattling it up, and they retreated. Whether they were told to retreat or whether they chose to retreat does not matter. The fact of the matter is there was nobody there to protect these people, these peaceful people who had showed up to support whatever candidate they wanted to support at the time. That is the vital part of this whole talk right here. Everything I'm speaking about all connects together with that one point. Past shows I've talked about before, you need self-reliance. You need to be training. We've done the first episode, Tile of Odinson. I spoke about self-sufficiency and training and courage and honor. Then the second episode, we were speaking about martial mastery, where you learn to fight and what you need to do. Then we had episodes on combat archery, where it's another form of fighting for people who may not be into guns or have guns or whatever, just want to add something to their game. Then we got prepping. And then the episode on Doomsday Marauders that I did. These are the types of people I'm talking about. These are your Doomsday Marauders. Take a good look at them. Go on, turn on your TV, go on YouTube, and look. These are your Doomsday Marauders. A bunch of sniveling, whiny, uneducated, indoctrinated college kids who believe they've got the world figured out in the 20 years they've been on this planet. They've got everything figured out. But they bring them in there and they have these ridiculous... I have confronted, personally, some of these socialist professors that I've heard spewing their garbage at some of these local bookstores we have in the area. I've heard them, and I've confronted them on these issues, and they don't know shit. They don't know shit. The only thing they've got is what they've been told. No logical thinking, none of that stuff. Everything is based on emotion and feeling. And as I said before, emotion uncontrolled is dangerous. Controlled emotion is passion. These people have no passion for anything they believe in. They're using it as a way to be violent. It's illogical, just mob mentality violence. So we heard the cops say, well, there were a few assaults and there wasn't really any property damage. Not true. There was property damage all over the place. And let's say you don't care about the rally. Let's say you've got a business right there where this was happening. They destroyed the front of your store. Now it's your problem. But you know what? You didn't stand for anybody. All you stood for was yourself and your little small group that's around you, and you didn't care about this, and guess what happened? Guess what happened? Now there's nobody there. There's nobody there to stand up for you. So we also see where it was declared an unlawful assembly by the police. Yes, it was declared an unlawful assembly 30 minutes after the rally was over with. Forget the fact that they were chasing people down like animals. Forget the fact they were throwing rocks, burning things, beating people up. No, none of that matters. It's an unlawful assembly after the fact. This baffles me. I'm reminded of several years ago when they had the Republican National Convention. For the life of me at the time, I cannot remember where it was at, but you see the videos where they have the bullhorns going, "This is an unlawful assembly. Please disperse." And they've got vehicles there with the LRAD sound cannons on them. They've got cops with shields beating them like they're the Roman legion. They're launching tear gas, shooting rubber bullets. They're coordinated. They've got everything just lined up, man. I mean, it is, and they stifled every last bit of protest there was. The cops did not stand for it. They didn't stand for it. So I ask you, what the hell is happening right now? What the hell happened in San Jose? What's happened in all the other places? Why is this being allowed to happen? If you remember the last episode, I spoke about engineering consent in our Uncivilized Society episode. I talked about engineering consent and the things that guys like Edward Bernays has done in the past. This is all we're seeing right here. Because you notice the media plays into this too. I saw a thing this morning where Vox or whatever it is posted a thing and said, yes, whenever Trump comes to your town, start a riot. Then you've got clever headlines from groups like ABC News saying, let's, you had the Trump protesters were there doing this and doing that, and then if a Trump protester or if a Trump rally participant punches one of these guys in the face, they go, violent Trump supporters. So you have to understand, there's a game being played here. Remember, it's all about hearts and minds. And whether you care about what's going on in this system or not, everything that happens inside of it, while you're inside of these walls, it directly affects you. So, let me tell you a story about a gentleman I know. A guy who's running for the Senate seat in Florida that was formerly occupied by Marco Rubio. He's a libertarian candidate. His name is Augustus Invictus. Yes, that is his name, Augustus Invictus. Powerful, powerful speaker. A lawyer by trade. Just an overall amazing guy. He's actually, believe it or not, if you don't know who Augustus Invictus is, please look him up. Augustus is actually fighting in an MMA fight in a couple of weeks. He was challenged by a competitor in the Senate race. And this guy was walking around challenging people. He's like, I'll fight anybody. And he was goading people and all stuff like that. Augustus accepted. Augustus has no martial arts training whatsoever. But Augustus is stepping in the cage, I think in a week or two time from the airing of this episode, maybe June 12th, I believe, something like that. Either way, Augustus is stepping in there and he's going to fight this guy. You know why? Because Augustus Invictus is a man. Do you think you'd see guys like George Bush and Bill Clinton and Al Gore? Would you see those guys step into a cage and fight? No, they're not men. Do you think you'd see Harry Reid step into a cage? No. But Augustus Invictus is a man. Well, let me tell you, Augustus walked into hostile territory. I believe it was in Oregon, where he was scheduled to do a rally. I say a rally. It was a small speaking engagement. And he run into all kind of issues where they were trying to push him out of there where he was at. But these they call themselves, ironically enough, anti-fascists. I look at that kind of like they say Patriot Act. They say the Patriot Act, but there's nothing patriotic about it. It was taking liberties from people. That's not very patriotic. But these anti-fascists, who are the very example of what a fascist is, these people showed up and they started attacking people. At one point, they actually had Augustus, they surrounded him inside of this bar he was in. And he actually had the chance to leave ahead of time before they got there, but one of the female people who was at his rally was waiting on a bus. So what did Augustus do? Augustus stayed with her to make sure she was going to be safe. And they told him that these people were coming. And these people were waiting to jump him. And luckily, law enforcement showed up just as these people were coming in and blocking off exits. Why didn't Augustus leave? Because Augustus is a man. That's why. He has honor, he has courage, And that's the type of leaders we need. So these anti-fascists, they're all over the place, and they're just invading these events. And they're not just showing up and using their voice. They're not doing that. These guys are showing up to cause violence. And they say, oh, it's my First Amendment. I have my First Amendment right. Well, let me tell you something. This is what's funny about something like a First Amendment. A First Amendment is designed to give free speech to all, not free speech you like. You don't have to agree with it. But technically, if you go by this whole First Amendment idea, you don't have to agree with it. But you have to support their right to say it, because that is their First Amendment. But that's not what these people say. As soon as you start telling them to shut up, they say, hey, it's my First Amendment, man. No, it's not your First Amendment. You can say what you want to, but you can't come around here and start smashing people in the face. The First Amendment works both ways. It works both ways. And if you're going to show up to a place and start punching people and throwing rocks, these people aren't there to talk. They're not there to talk. They're there to intimidate. And the only reason they're allowed to do it is because people allow themselves to be intimidated. So why, as I've mentioned before, and people are probably hearing this and they're saying, why does this matter? I mean, okay, so I don't care about elections, so why does it even matter? My friends, this is the writing on the wall. As I said before, people will tell you that this country the world is better than it's ever been. Bullshit. Look across the globe, scan the headlines, check the economic numbers. Things are starting to fall apart. Rome is beginning to tremble, and Rome is beginning to fall. So when you allow these people to form in giant mobs, who's going to stop them once they run through everybody else, through intimidation, through force, through threats of violence? Who's going to stop them from coming for you next? What they're looking for is a stand down. They want you to stand down. Stand down and take it. I remember here in the wonderful state of South Carolina, when they had the issue with that piece of trash, Dylan Roof went and shot up some people in a church, like the coward he is. They had this whole issue about the Confederate flag. The Confederate flag, oh, it's a symbol of racism. It's a symbol of racism. And you had all these violent events happening where you had people who supported Southern heritage being attacked. And understand this. Let me just throw this little bit out there about the Confederate flag while I've got your attention. Offers were made here, because I sat and listened to the amendments attempted to be pushed into the bill that pulled the flag down from the State House. Things were added in there. One of the things was, they said, okay, they made the argument that, yes, this flag is a symbol of Southern heritage. However, it's being used by racists right now, so they've co-opted that symbol. Some of the pro-Confederate flag people said, you know what, you're right. Let's pull it down and replace it with the original Confederate flag, which is a red, white, and blue with some stars on it. You can look it up. It's the very first Confederate flag that was used. And they said, no. You see, it was never about the whole idea of bringing down this symbol of hate. That was not the case. It was about the destruction of the culture. They wanted to bring that culture down. And there is a Southern culture, and it's not a culture of hate. It's not a culture of hate. The Civil War nearly destroyed all the men in my family. Only one of the men in my family made it through, and that's my 5 times great-granddaddy. He's the only one that made it through, and he was the youngest of the group. And you know what? I did research, and my family they had one lady who was a quote-unquote house servant, if you want to put it that way. And you know what happened after the war? Because I checked the census. Guess what? After the war happened, she stayed with my family. Do you think she stayed because life sucked? No. This lady was in charge. I've checked the history of my family. This lady was in charge of taking care of the kids. She helped raise them. She was my 5 times great-grandmother's right-hand person. So you think she was abused and everything? No, this isn't true. So you have to understand, they want a stand down. They want to stand down on culture. They want you to stand down, and they threaten you with violence. They want you to stand down to anything they hate. So I ask you, you say you don't care about what's going on, but what happens when they come for you? What happens when they decide, you know what? I hate you. I hate people who believe in the Second Amendment. I hate people who believe in self-sufficiency. I hate people who live off the grid. I hate people who prep. I hate people who drive Toyotas. I hate people who live in houses. All these things start happening. If this starts happening, you've opened the door and you've set the precedent to anything they hate. They can form a mob and push you out. So it becomes vital for us. It becomes vital for us as a people to not stand for this. So what has changed throughout the years? What has changed that's allowed this to start happening right now? What is it? I mean, did people just magically decide to form mobs? No, mobs have been used throughout history to get what they want. When they don't have an argument, the easiest thing is, let's form a mob and push them out. That's always what's happened, but there's always been a force there to push them back. In modern society, it's become the law enforcement. Well, what happens when the mob outnumbers the law enforcement? And the law enforcement retreats and you're there to take care of yourself. You see, when there's no threat of violence, and that's what this all boils down to. Why do they do what they do? There's no threat of violence. And I'm not talking about the cops rolling in there and beating the piss out of everybody. Should they do that? When people are tearing up your city, yeah, you kind of should do something about that. But when there's no threat of violence from the people you're attacking, what level does that put you at? That moves you into bully status. That's the bully mentality. That's what a bully does. Why does a bully do what they do? It's when you got a kid who can find another kid who refuses to fight back. And you can walk up, you can slap him, and he's scared, and you grab him by the nape of the neck, and you say, "Listen, pal, I want your lunch money right now." And he goes, "Okay, I'm sorry, here." He's like, "Thank you, I'll see you tomorrow." When you realize you can do that every single day, that's how you keep control of people. When you got a group, it becomes even more powerful when you have a group of bullies. But what happens that one day when the bully walks up and he says, "I want your lunch money"? And the kid sticks his chest out and he says, "No." What happens? Does the bully beat him up? He may. But let me tell you a story. I knew this kid in school, a small kid. He was picked on a lot. And one day this kid decided to fight back. And this bully had been messing with him like crazy. And this kid said, "You know what? That's it. Today's the day. It's over." This little kid, he went at this bully and he threw everything he had at him. You know what happened to this kid? He got beat down. The bully beat him up. And laughed and whatever. Well, you know, a few days later, the bully started picking on him again. And you know what happened? The kid fought back. He fought back again, and again, the bully smashed him. Well, in school, every single time this happened, there was a lot of witnesses to this, and every single time this happened, the bully got suspended. He got in trouble every single time. And then word started to spread that if you pick on this kid and he fights back, you are going to beat the piss out of him every time. Because he can't fight, he's not tough. But if you do, if you mess with this kid, he will fight you. And you are going to have to beat him up. And you will get suspended during the process. And you know what? It just kind of became this issue where I really don't want to pick on this kid, because when I do, I know for a fact I'm going to have to fight him. Bullies don't want to fight. They want to dominate. They want to domineer. They want to be that giant gorilla that stands in front of you and slings branches and beats his chest. So you go, whew, that posturing is terrifying. You win. They don't want you to stand back up against them. There's a threat. There's a threat of violence. And it may not even be effective violence, but it's a threat nonetheless. I tend to have this phrase that I like to think that I've coined, that it's something that's unique to me, something I came up with, known as the Batman effect. The Batman effect is, I look at it in the form of the whole superhero idea. Why does a guy like Batman, why does it work? Well, when criminals go out, the only thing they have to worry about is maybe possibly being caught by the police. They get caught by the police, they get arrested, they go to jail. Hell, they may be out in a few days, who knows? Well, let's just say they go to prison. What is prison? It's a giant training center for criminals. So when they come out, they're an even better criminal, right? They're a better criminal. And usually when a cop arrests them, they can just put the gun on them, they can say, okay, I give up, or they tase them. They say, I give up. They get arrested, no harm, no foul. However, when Batman is out there, he creates this idea as a shadowy force that is haunting. There's always that threat of violence. Because Batman's not going to kill you. But when he gets hold to you, he's going to unleash violence upon you. And you're going to be afraid of that. Because you know that if Batman finds me, I'm going to get smashed. And then I'm going to get arrested. And then when I get out of prison, Batman just may be waiting for me the next time. So these criminals know, in the world of comic books, they know that if they go out and commit crimes every night, they might not get caught by Batman ever, but the threat is always out there. If you want to kick that up a notch, you can move from the Batman effect to the Punisher effect, and it becomes an even more interesting story. But we're not going to talk about that right now. So the Batman effect. People who want to impose their will on you. These groups, these anti-fascists, what an oxymoron. These anti-fascists, when they want to show up and they want to inflict their will on you, they need to have that Batman effect. So what is the Batman effect? How does the Batman effect relate to stopping these people? Well, most of the people who show up to these events, to these political rallies, a lot of times they're older people. They don't really want any trouble. They're just there to support their candidate and cheer a little bit and feel like they're a part of something. I've been to a few of these in the past, and that's all they are. It's just a big transference of energy between people and all that. It's okay. It's whatever. Do your thing. Do your thing. It's your right to do it. Most of these people don't want to fight. And it's the old adage from Fight Club where he's trying to get, if you've ever seen or read the book or seen Fight Club the movie, there's this, he gives them the homework assignment. He says, go out there and I want you to start a fight. And you're going to lose the fight. And what they found was that most people did not want to get in a fight. You could walk up and push them, you could slap them, and I see it all the time, especially from a lot of people coming up in this current society. I don't know really what's happened. It could be this whole engineered consent thing where everybody's trying to be cool and funny like they see on the TVs. But they try to pick, in Fight Club, they tried to pick fights with people and nobody wanted to fight. You could slap, you could push them. You see it now. Guys get pushed, guys get slapped, and they go, hey man, I don't want any trouble. No, don't do anything. And then they end up getting sucker punched. This cannot be allowed to stand. As I related to the story before about the kid who was being bullied, what happens when these groups start showing up? And every time they show up, there's going to be a fight on their hands. That's right. That's what I'm telling you. I'm not telling you to wave signs. I'm not even telling you to go out there and be violent like them. I'm not telling you to walk up to the first person you see in a Bernie Sanders shirt or waving or burning an American flag or whatever. I'm not telling you to walk up and punch him in the mouth. That's not what I'm telling you. I'm telling you to defend yourself. That is your right. That is not a right that was granted to you by any government or anything. That's a right that was granted to you by creation itself. That is natural law. Natural law is tooth and claw. Everything else is folly. Natural law states that when these people attack you, you attack back. You defend yourself. The only effective way to do this is to find other people who are willing to defend themselves as well. All of you people that show up at these rallies, if you're listening to this right now, or you're going out to these rallies, don't call for the cops. Don't run and go get the cops and say, help me, help me. They've got their orders and they're going to do what they have to do. They will protect you to an extent, but for the most part, you are on your own. This goes right back to what I talked about in the last episode about forming tribe. Having a group of brothers. Having a group of people who have your back. It's standing up on your hind legs and saying, I have had enough. That's what these people need to hear. They don't need you to stand there and say, please don't hurt me. Look, I'm nonviolent. I'm nonviolent. No. You don't say you're nonviolent when someone else is being violent. You don't do that. You defend yourself. You take your fist and you ball it up as tight as you can. And from your shoulder, you punch straight out and you turn their face into a canoe. That's what you do. When you're pushed to the limit, when you're pushed to the back of your wall, and these anti-fascist scum are out there beating on it, trying to knock it down. That's what these people are doing. And you may not care right now, but that's the future. That's the future. When you start trying to build something, they decide they hate you. What happens when these anti-fascist, quote, anti-fascist, or these quote-unquote protesters, when they show up to your door? You say, well, we'll fight back. Well, if there's only a group of 20 of you and there's 200 of them, what are you going to do? You need allies. And this is where you start building allies, because you can unite underneath a one banner to fight against a common threat. And then when that threat is done with, you can separate and go about your own ways. That's the nature of tribalism. That is the nature of tribal identity. That is the nature of a tribal culture. You form together you have congruent goals that you form together to fight back against a threat. So I say to all you people, when you go out there, when you go out to these rallies or whatever, grab a walking stick. Take a walking stick with you. Just kind of go along. Take your keys, put them in your fist. Because these people need to be dealt with. They need to be dealt with the only thing they understand. Once that threat of violence becomes real, and it's in their face, and they realize that every time they show up to one of these things, and they want to start attacking people, that a fight is getting ready to break out. You want to fight, you're going to get one. That's how you stop a bully. That's all these people are. You remember not long ago there was a Bikers for Trump rally that occurred. And you had tons of bikers. I want to say it was like 200, maybe more than that. Tons of bikers show up to this Trump event. Did you hear of any anti-fascist protests breaking out there? They didn't have to fight anybody. But their roar was heard by these scumbags. You see, these people didn't want to fight. If they wanted to fight, they could have showed up at this rally, and they'd have got a fight. Oh boy, would they ever have gotten a fight. But they didn't show up. Why do you suppose that is? That threat of violence was very real. They knew it was real. They know the reputation of these people. Whether or not, these people might not have had any intent on fighting, but they were fierce. They appeared fierce, and everyone thought they were fierce, and that's all they needed. There's only one way to stop these people. And as I said before, I'm not telling you to go out and be violent. I'm not telling you to show up at a Hillary rally and start trashing things, which is kind of ironic. You always hear about right-wing protesters. You hear this right-wing, and everyone gets scared because everyone starts thinking of these gun-toting monsters that are going to roll in and go, we're going to destroy all of you. That's what they think is going to happen when right-wingers show up. No, right-wingers You live next to right-wingers, most likely. Unless you live in California, probably, or New York City. But the right-wingers, they're your family men. They're your Second Amendment advocates who are out there concealed carrying and keeping you safe because there aren't enough police to protect you. That's what your right-wingers are. Do they ever show up to Hillary rallies or Bernie rallies and start beating people up? Odd. You only see one type of people that do that. It's almost like the media is trying to deceive you and paint a picture of something that isn't real. That's so strange. Imagine that happening here in America. I mean, that's never happened. Oh, wait, it did happen all the way back since 1920. If you listen to the last episode, you'll know that. So, if I'm going to close out here with a last call. This is the last call, you guys. Go ahead and make your alliances. Finish off that cup of mead. Go ahead and finish your sandwich, pal. Yeah, no, I don't want it. Don't share it with that guy either. No, you don't want to eat after him. So if I'm doing a last call here, you have to stop allowing people to intimidate you. And these anti-fascist, these liberal nut jobs, they bring no argument to the table. That's why they resort to violence. You ever listen to these people? What do they have? You see them say, I think it was the first episode where I had the college kids say the darndest things. And it's like, why do you not like Donald Trump? He's a racist. He wants to break up families and he hates women. It's talking points. This isn't an accident. And I'm not telling you to go out and vote for Trump. I don't give a shit who you vote for or if you vote at all. What I'm telling you is the game. I'm giving you the tricks. I'm showing you behind the curtain of the magic act so you know what's going on. These people have no argument. So when you have no argument, you resort to violence. But you have to, if you're going to show up to these things, you have to be willing to defend yourself. You can't allow yourself to be bullied by anyone. And all these liberals that are out doing this thing, they're just a small piece of a massive puzzle that's being built right now. Even in your life, you can't allow people to bully you in life. You can't allow your boss to bully you. You can't allow these anti-fascists to bully you. You can't allow cultural trends to bully you. And there's many different ways of fighting back, but I always tell you to defend yourself. Defend yourself with necessary force to whatever action the opposing force is putting against you. If they're being violent, by the gods, ball your fist up like Mjolnir and smash them with it. Natural law is tooth and claw. If they're attacking you with words, arm yourself with words. Barbarians are not this whole outsider barbarian mentality. It's not about just being this brute that lifts weights all day and smashes things with an axe. That's not the concept. You need to be intelligent as well. You need to read books. Arm yourself with words. These are the things you fight back with. That's the main weapon of choice by this system, by these liberals, by all these people that want to see you under their feet. Their weapon is words. You fight them with words. Have your words in order. If you're going to tell people something, you tell them, and you speak with passion. You let your passion flow. You let it flow out of your veins. Let them look you in the eyes. Poke your chest out. Lift your head up. Look them in the face and tell them your truth. Tell them what you're going to stand for. Establish a boundary. And you build that wall. That wall, the mortar that holds that wall together, your words. The brick or your fist if need be. These people attack you, you defend yourself. That's what I could tell anyone who's listening to this show. Anyone who's listening to the show. You say, well, I'm not that tough. You know what? You were born with an animal instinct. You can harness it if need be. We see people do it all the time. If somebody gets a car stuck on them, the jack slips out and the car falls on them, you see a woman walk out there and grab it and deadlift over 1,000 pounds off of her husband who's trapped underneath it. That's primal power, and you've got it in you. As I said before, once you shatter that box, the energy of your ancestors who went out and killed dangerous creatures, bears and saber-toothed tigers. You know what they killed it with? They killed it with a stick with a sharpened stone tied to the end of it. That's what they used to kill mighty beasts. You're no different. Start acting like it. So our video of the week this week, I'm just going to throw some clips in here, a compilation clip of some of these protests that went on. I don't need to explain it. I think I've explained enough. These aren't protests. Even I'm starting to get indoctrinated to the wording. This is not protest. This is violence. These are riots. These people are terrorists. They're terrorizing people. But you won't see the Patriot Act used against them. No, 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 no. You'll see, or the NDAA or anything like that. If you don't know what those are, become an educated barbarian. You won't see those things used against them. No, you'll see those used against people that form groups. You'll see those used at people who aren't bothering anybody, but they're considered right-wing extremists because the Southern Poverty Law Center, one of the most racist organizations out there, says that they make a little list that says these people are dangerous. And why are these people dangerous? These people are dangerous because they're uniting under a common banner that stands against this psychopathic agenda that we're seeing pushed down our throats on a daily basis. So I don't need to explain these clips. You'll hear the audio of it, and I'll post a link on our website. Watch it. I want you to see it. I want you to see what these people are. And then I want you to listen to the Doomsday Marauders episode and see what's coming down the line. Because when shit hits the fan and everything falls apart, these are the people who will be marching down the street to take what's yours. If you don't get alliances now, if you don't have tribe, if you don't train yourself, if you don't forge yourself into a weapon, a living weapon, these people are going to be beating down your door. They're going to be dragging your wife out into the street by the hair because they don't like her. Maybe they don't like what she believes in. Maybe they don't like the fact that you have an American flag flying. Maybe they don't like the fact that you're a white, whatever it may be, white, black, brown, it doesn't matter. Whatever this mob is, when they drag you out, just remember that you chose not to stand when you had the chance to stand. Develop your alliances now. Strengthen tribe. Let's let this video play real quick. So if you're just listening to the audio of this thing, these people are throwing eggs at this lady, just blasting her in the face with these eggs. She's trying to go in the building. They got her surrounded like a pack of savages, screaming at her and yelling "Viva la Mexico" as they're doing all this, all their flag waving and everything. Just absolutely disgusting. This guy here, he was just walking down the street after leaving the rally. He got his sign snatched. It was just a Trump sign he got from the rally and smashed in the head with something. Now he's bleeding out the side of his ear and everything. And the cop's like, oh, well, it looks all right. They're not going to be there to protect you. You need to defend yourself. Look at this mob of savages.
He grabbed my Trump sign and started following me, saying I was like a racist and stuff. Yeah,
so you literally didn't say anything to provoke them?
I was just like, yeah, Trump, Trump.
Here we see it yet again. All the signs are there. This individual who's leaving this Trump rally, they have no idea what violence is, because if you can't tell that this guy wasn't about to punch you in the face, you see them, they're just attacking him like wild beasts. If you keep standing for this is why they keep doing this. He's running, he's afraid. You gotta stand up to these people. You gotta look them in the face and say, I'm not scared. And even if they beat you down, you stood for something. For some reason, people are under the impression that you can reason with these people. I want you to listen to them. Listen very closely. There's no discussion going on. There's no information being shared. It's just profanity-laced violence. They've moved beyond discussion, and they've lost the right. In this instance, they have lost the right to discuss anything. They're not bringing words to the table, they're bringing violence. So in turn, you have to respond accordingly. That's the only way they can be dealt with. I'm through. Turn this thing off. I can't listen to this anymore. That about sums it up right now. About sums it up. These people make me livid. And you got a right to be livid. You have a right to be livid. As I said, controlled emotion is passion. Passion is what's created powerful cultures and powerful men throughout history. When you listen to guys like Marcus Aurelius and you read his meditations, he sounded like a very logical, reasonable guy. But you don't write glory like that without having a passion for what you believe in. All the people in the past who've stood up, guys like Spartacus, Edward Teach, Blackbeard, whatever you want to call him, Charles Vane, powerful men throughout history, Geronimo, some of the powerful, please, like Crazy Horse. These guys, they stood for something. They had passion, and their passion ignites other people around you. It's time for you to start doing the same thing. They want you to be quiet. That's the whole thing. They want you to stand down. But we're not standing down anymore. We're not going to do it. Thank you guys for listening today. I wanted to throw this episode out there because I became livid about what I saw. And I was feeling passionate and I needed to say something. I thank you guys for listening today. Wherever you're at right now, don't be quiet. Don't let people intimidate you. Fight them with your words. And if they have no words to fight you back with, if they try to fight you with their fist, you smash them. You smash them like you're smashing a bug. Because that's what you're dealing with right now. That's the mentality you're dealing with. Is someone that has no intelligence any higher than some cockroach. Sniveling around in the streets, trying to cause trouble and destroy things. Thank you guys for listening. This is Alan Odinson. You've been listening to the Barbarian Lounge, and the lounge is closed.